started with the angle sum identities. Now, with angle difference identities, sorry, we say that the sine of A minus B is sine of A cosine of B minus cosine of A sine of B. Now, for the sine of A plus B, we have the same. And I will write here sine of A minus B. As we said, it is sine of A cosine of B minus, we keep the minus sign, cosine of A sine of B. Now let's talk about sine of A plus B. They are the same, sine of A cosine of B, or cosine of A sine of B. But since here we are talked about plus, so we have to write plus sign. Here, minus, we have to keep the minus sign. So sine of A plus B and sine of A minus B, approximately they have the same formula. But for A plus B, we keep the plus sign. And for A minus B, we keep the minus sign. Now, let's talk about the tan. For the tan, we know that tan of A minus B is tan of A minus tan of B over 1 minus or plus tan of A tan of B. This is if we have now tan of A minus B. Now let's see how of A plus B, how they will be. For the first, for the numerator, sorry, we keep the sign as it is. Yani, up, we have minus, we keep it minus. Here we have plus, we keep it plus. And we write it as tan of A plus tan of B. But now, look at the denominators. For the denominator, if it is minus, we keep the denominator plus. Here, if it is a plus, we make the denominator minus. So for the numerator, we have the same sign, and for the denominator, we have the opposite sign. If we have tan of A plus B, we keep the plus sign up and write the opposite on the numerator. Now for the cosine. For the cosine, remember that I told you for sine and tan, you keep the angles as it is. But for the cosine, no, you will write its opposite. I mean, like, if you have cosine of A minus B, we say that it is cosine of A, cosine of B, minus sine of A, sine of B. And if we have now cosine of A plus B, here we have plus. Since we have minus, we write its opposite. If we have A of cosine of A plus B, we will write the same formula. But here, if we have a plus, we keep it minus. For the sine and tan, you keep the sign as they are. But for the cosine, you have to flip it, or you have to write its opposite. So you have the same things, but sine and tan keep the same sign. For the cosine, change it. This is here. Sometimes you need to find the angles of any, or the sine, sorry, of any two angles that they are a summation of two main angles. Such as an example here, 105. Now, sine of 105 here, we need now to solve it by an angle sum identity. Now think of two angles that if you add it, you get 105. Let's come back now to our table here. Now, See now here, which angles that if I can add them, I get 105.
Teacher, it is 45 and 60.
As you see, they are 45 plus 60. If you add them, you get 105. So now,
Teacher, in the question, you should tell us if we are going to use the add or the the
no,
differences.
no,
Or no?
no, you have to use as anyone you want. You will take the same answer.
Okay.
Now here, so we have sine of 60 plus 45. Then for the sines, we say that it's sine.
Sine 60 times cosine 45 plus cosine 60 plus sine 45.
So here, this is the formula. Then, since we have plus, so for the sine, we keep the plus as it is. Then let's continue. Sine of 60, square root 3 over 2. Cosine of 45 is 1 over square root of 2 plus cosine of 60, it's half. Sine of 45, it's 1 over square root of 2. Then we have square root of 3 over 2 square root of 2 plus 1 over 2 square root of 2. Then final answer will be square root of 3 plus 1 over 2 square root of 2. Now, if I'm asking you now to find tan of 105. Tan of 105, as we said now, هلا 105 which we said it's 60 plus 45. So we can say it's 60 plus 45. Then we must write its formula. Now we say that for the tan, we keep the sign. يعني we mean like it's 1. Sorry, it's tan of 60 plus tan of 45. And in the denominator, you will change the sign. Yani 1 minus tan of 60 times tan of 45. Now tan is 60, which is 1 over which is square root of 3 plus 1 tan of 45, which is 1 over 1 minus, what is the tan of 60? Square root of 3. So the answer will be square root of 3 plus 1 over 1 minus square root of 3. Is it clear?
Yeah, teacher. Does it mean that the value of the cosine will be always positive, or like just if we have negative, we will make it positive? Like it's not necessary to make it always positive, the value of cosine, because like the last question we solved in the first period, it was the answer of the cosine 145 equal negative. So
because yes, because we said it's negative. And the 180, its sign is negative. Its cosine is -1. So it depends on which angles.
So it's not necessary to make it always the value -1, but it's about the sign that we are going to multiply.
No, here it depends on the angles. I didn't understand your question, but it depends on the angles. Like, sometimes the cosine will be positive and sometimes the cosine will be negative. When the like here, tan 105 as an example. Where is 105? It is here. And the tan must be negative. So if you simplify this answer here, square root of 3 plus 1, and the square root of 3, it's 1.27.
It's 1.73.
1.73. plus 1 over 1 minus 1.73. So if you simplify it, you will find that it's negative.
Okay.
That's why the tan here, or since 105 is in the second quadrant, as we said before, so the answer must be negative.
Yes, teacher. Okay. But like, teacher, what you mean that if we have cosine of negative, like of negative anything, we will make it equal positive, just like that. But according to the graph,
You mean
it
for the
depends on
negative? لا لحظة شوي. You mean for the negative identity, like cosine
Yeah.
of negative 45? It's the
Yeah.
same as cosine of 45.
Yeah, this one.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, thank you, teacher.
Now, how the questions will come. Sometimes like I'm like this. Here, I give you the formulas, and you have to guess now which angles that I'm talking about and which identity that I'm talking about. I will not bring for you like this. By the way, for the first year, that's I give this algebra 2 يعني to grade 12. That's why grade 10 before 2 years. I give them, I didn't ask them to use the calculator. The calculator is forbidden in all my exams. But since we are online here, I cannot يعني forbid you to use it. I give you this for them. I give them this table, and you have to solve all the exam using this table. There's
The
no
table will be
calculator.
given in the exam.
No, for the online, for you and for the previous year, the calculator is, you can use the calculator. Because actually I cannot tell you, maybe Ragat, she will not use the calculator, but another girl, she will use it. So I cannot make, I will not be an equality. That's, I cannot see all of you. I cannot, maybe you will use the calculator, but I cannot see by you by the cameras. So I will give you the calculator, but I will not now ask you to find the answers like this. I will not give you teacher والله what's the cosine of 15 مش كتير غبية يعني. I will give you some examples like this. Okay? I will give you like here. From here, you will know which angles that I'm talking about. Or I will give you sine of 15 as an example, and I will write you the 3 statements, and you tell me which one is the correct. Is it cosine of 30 minus كذا, or and I will give you examples, and you have to see which one will be the correct. For this one here.
Oh my God, I forgot how to use the how to make 1 plus 1.
Now, number 22. Here, find the value of each trigonometric expression. Cosine 50, cosine 40. For the first one here, first you have to know that I'm talking about sine or cosine or tan. This is the first thing you have to decide. The second one, which the 2 angles that I'm talking about are them? I'm talking about sum identity or difference identity. Let's see here. Number 22. Cosine, cosine minus sine, sine. First, cosine, cosine. So if you remember, cosine, cosine, yani I'm talking about cosine. So cosine, I know which identity I'm talking. No, look at, remember that the cosine, I told you that I change the sign. Means that if I have here minus, that means I have here plus. Then the angles, 50 and 40. And then cosine of 50 and 40, they are cosine of 90. How the questions or how the multiple choice will come. Maybe I give you this answer. I give you this answer, and I give you this answer, and I give you this answer.
It will be A and B.
You will give me that the last one is correct. So here, how did you solve it? Like this. First, you have to say which ratios that I'm talking about, and then you have to see, shall I'm talking about angle, some angle, or difference angle.
Teacher,
Yes.
can you repeat how you know if it's plus or minus?
Right. Okay. Hello. First, you have to see that here we have cosine, cosine. Hello. If you have sine, cosine at the beginning, يعني sine. Cosine,
Yeah.
cosine, it's mean cosine. So I will write cosine. Hello. What did we have here? Two numbers, 50 and 40. Remember now, I told you before that for the sine and for the tan, you will keep the sign. And for the cosine, you will change it.
Yes.
Right. So that's mean, I'm talking about cosine, and that's mean I changed the sign. Since I changed the sign and it was negative, I will write it here positive.
Okay, yeah.
Teacher, so it will be cosine 90.
Yes.
Teacher, what was the second choice?
Just a second, please. This one. I told you if it is cosine of 50 plus 40, or cosine of 90, or cosine of 10, or A and B are correct, you will tell me that A and B are correct.
Teacher, A and teacher, what was the how is it cosine 10?
This is choices. This is not correct.
Oh, okay.
This is MCQ. This is a multiple choice questions, MCQ.
Yani it's not related to this question?
No, Miss Me. I told you, like in the exam, I will give you this one. And I told you that you have 4 choices. First one, cosine of 50 plus 40. The second one, cosine of 90. The third one, cosine of 10. And the last one, A and B are correct. Okay, so which one is correct? You will see that A and B are correct. So the answer of the choice you will choose, that's D.
Yes.
So teacher, for question 22, we always say that when we want to distribute the sign of the cosine, it will always be positive. Here in the 22, how they make it negative? Like even if we solve it as cosine 50 minus 40, it will be also positive in question 22.
Yep.
Like teacher, I mean, they do it negative sine 50, sine 40. But like how they make it negative? It's always positive. Like in question 22, they make it minus, but it's always.
Number 23 now.
Sine,
cosine. So it will be sine. Bravo. So the first thing, it is sine. The second one now. Which numbers now we have?
80
we have 80
and 35.
And 35. I told you that in sine, you didn't change the sign. So if it is negative, it will be
negative.
So it will
Number
be
24.
45.
Now, sine, cosine. So this would be a sine. The two numbers we have 100 and 170. Yeah. Then yes, Maya. Here, what we have to put between these two numbers, plus or minus?
Plus, because it doesn't change.
Bravo, plus. So the answer will be sine of 270, which is -1. Here it will be sine of 45, which is 1 over square root of 2. Number 25 now.
We have to simplify it, or like it's okay.
No, if they're coming like multiple choice, just choose the correct answer.
Okay.
Now number 25. Cosine, cosine. That's mean I'm talking about cosine.
About cosine.
183 and 93.
Minus.
It
Then
will be minus.
It will be minus 93.
it will be minus, yeah. So the answer will be cosine of 70,
It's equal.
90, which is 0.
Yeah, 90.
So if you see now, you have this choice or this choice or this choice, all of them are correct.
Okay, teacher.
Now, here, find each exact value. Use a sum or difference identity. Now, let's solve tan of 75. Tan of 75 now. Now give me two angles that if you add them, you get 75.
30 and 45.
30 and 45. So you can say it's tan of 30 plus 45. Now, 1 minute, please. And you can say that the tan of 75, if you use the difference identity, can you say that it's tan of 120 minus 75? So now we want to see how can we get the same answer if we use the sum identity or the difference identity. Let's start now with the first one. Tan of 30 plus 45. We have to say, since we have plus, so we keep the plus as it is. So tan of 30 plus tan of 45 minus 1, over 1 minus, and I'll change the sign, tan of 30 tan of 45. So 1 over square root of 3 plus 1 over 1 minus 1 times 1 over square root of 3. So this is here the first answer if you solve it by 30 plus 45. Now if you solve it by 120. Now remember that tan 120 will be, can say like no, I mean like it's negative square root or minus square root of 3 because tan of 120 is the same as tan of 60, but because it's in the second quadrant. Now then, so we have to say now here, since we have minus sign, so tan of 120 minus tan of
75.
I'm 75. It's 45, sorry.
Okay.
Tan of 45 over 1 plus, I will change the sign, tan of 20, tan of 45.
Teacher, isn't it 120? Yeah.
Then tan of 120, we said it's negative the square root of 3 minus 1 over 1 minus 1 plus negative square root of 3 times 1. It means it's negative square root of 3 minus 1 over 1 minus square root of 3. Let's see here, let's take side negative as a common factor. So we have square root of 3 plus 1 over square root of 3 minus 1. We cancel it, so we'll have this, the final answer will be. If you come back here, you write them, have the same denominator. So we have 1 plus square root of 3 over 3 over 1 or square root of 3 minus 1 over square root of 3. You cancel them. So you'll find the answer as 1 over square root of 3 over square root of 3 minus 1. So as you see, if you use the sum identity or the difference identity, you will get the same answer.
Teacher, can you repeat what you did the last one?
And which one? The orange or the green?
The last thing, the red and white.
Okay. Okay, the others, is it clear?
Yes.
Okay, I will repeat it here. Now, 1 over square root of 3 plus 1 over 1 minus square, 1 minus 1 over square root of 3. Then here, what did we have? We have to make them have the same denominator by butterfly way or cross product as you want. We have to say it's 1 times 1, 1 plus square root of 3 times 1, which is square root of 3 over the product of the denominators over here. We have 1 times square root of 3 minus 1 times 1 over the product of the denominators. Now, as we know from previous grades, if you have A over B over C over D, you can cancel A with D and the answer will be A over C. And here, you will cancel them. So it will be 1 plus square root of 3 over square root of 3 minus 1.
Okay, teacher, thank you so much.
Yeah. So here now, if I give you, as an example, sine of 75, you have to think that you can solve it by summation or by difference. You can say it is sine sine of 45 So here, sine of 75, you can solve it by two ways. This is the first way. It is either 45 plus 30, but since we used sine and we have them as sine of 45 plus 30, so you will use this formula. Sine of 45 cosine of 30 plus cosine of 45 sine of 30. Or you can say that it is sine of 120 minus 45. Such as it's sine of 120 cosine of 45 minus cosine of 120 sine of 45. So both of them are correct.
Okay, teacher.
Okay. Fine. Now, tan of 15. How did you solve it?
45 minus 30.
45 minus 30. I think that's we talked about 15, 105, 75. Just a second.
So it's tan 45 minus tan 30 over 1 plus tan 45 times tan 30.
Yeah, it will be tan of 45 minus tan of 30 over 1 plus tan of 45 tan of 30. Then tan of 45, it's 1 over, it's 1, sorry, minus tan of 30 square root of 3 over 2 over 1 plus tan of 45 1 times tan of 30 square root of 3 over 2. So you'll get the answer as 1 minus square root of 3 over 2 over 1 plus square root of 3 over 2. Now, you solve it, but you didn't see this answer, or you solved it by calculator, you will find that the tan of 15, it is 2 minus square root of 3. Okay, I solve it now by calculator, but here, my final answer is like this. Oh, not like this. You solve it by calculator, okay, and my choices are like this. So how can I know now which one is correct? Here, I give you the choices like 1 minus square root of 3 over 2 over 1 plus square root of 3 over 2. The second one, 1 minus square root of 3 over 2 over square root of 3 over 2 minus 1. Here you have two choices. Now, how can I know which one is equal to 2 minus square root of 3? What you have to do here, and as we know, this is the first one is correct. Now, how can I know it is correct? By simplifying it. It is 2 minus 2 minus square root of 3 over 2 over square root of 3 plus 2 over 2. Two plus square root of 3 over 2, okay. Then 3 plus 2. I want now to simplify it here. So that was 'Lla just a second, but tan of 30. This was square root of 3 over 2 or 1 or square root of 3. I want to remember it here. I think that's something wrong here. The tan of 15, we say that it is tan of 45 minus 30. يعني tan of 45 minus tan of 30 over 1 minus or plus tan of 45 tan of 30. So 1 minus tan of 30, I wrote it as square root of 3 over 2. It was 1 over square root of 3 over 1 plus 1 over square root of 3. So it comes like 1 square root of 3 plus 1 over square root of 3 divided by just a second here. Oops. Okay. So it was tan of 45. It is 1 minus tan of 100 square root of 3. It's 1 over square root of 3 over 1 plus tan of 45,
root of 3.
which is 1 over square root of 3. So then, square root of 3 minus 1 over square root of 3 over square root of 3 plus 1 over square root of 3. Then you will get the answer as square root of 3 minus 1 over square root of 3